I thought I knew everything about the man I was going to marry. We had been together for 2 years, engaged for 6 months, and I believed we shared everything. But there was one small detail that nagged at me every morning as Marcus got ready for work. He would slip his engagement ring off his finger and leave it on our nightstand, right next to mine. Every single day. When I finally asked him about it, his answer seemed reasonable enough. But what I discovered 3 weeks later would shatter everything I thought I knew about our relationship. Before I dive into this story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button if you have ever felt like something was off in your relationship, and do not forget to subscribe for more real-life stories. Trust me, you will want to stick around for what happens next, because this revelation changed everything I thought I knew about the man I was going to marry. The night Marcus proposed was everything I had dreamed of. We were at Giovanni's, this intimate Italian restaurant in downtown Chicago, where we had our first official date. The ring was perfect, a classic solitaire that caught the light beautifully. We spent the next weekend picking out his matching band, laughing as we tried on different styles, talking about how we would wear them for the rest of our lives. Those early months of engagement felt like living in a fairy tale. I work as a marketing coordinator at a mid-sized advertising agency, and Marcus is a financial analyst at a big corporate firm downtown. We had already started planning our spring wedding spending evenings, looking at venues and tasting cakes. Everything seemed perfect. But then I started noticing the ring thing. Every morning as Marcus got ready for work in his sharp navy suits, he would carefully remove his engagement ring and place it on the nightstand. At first I thought maybe he forgot to put it back on. But it happened every single day, without fail. One morning in October, as I was making us coffee and scrambled eggs, I casually asked him about it. "Honey, I noticed you never wear your ring to work. Is there a reason?" Marcus barely looked up from his newspaper. "It's not professional in my field. I don't owe anyone my relationship status at the office." His answer made sense to me at the time. The financial world can be pretty conservative, and I knew Marcus valued maintaining boundaries between his personal and professional life. I let it go, focusing instead on the wedding planning and the excitement of building our future together. But as weeks passed, I started noticing other things. When Marcus would take work calls at home, he never mentioned me or our upcoming wedding in his conversations with colleagues. When his company had events, he never invited me, saying they were networking focused or just boring work stuff. His social media posts, while rare, never included photos of us together or any mention of our engagement. I found myself making excuses for these things. Marcus was private by nature, I told myself. He believed in keeping work and personal life completely separate, which was actually healthy, right? When we were together at home, he was attentive and loving. He would show me articles about wedding trends he found interesting, and we would spend hours discussing our honeymoon plans. Those moments convinced me that I was overthinking everything. During our cozy evenings together, curled up on our sectional sofa, watching movies, or planning wedding details, Marcus was the perfect fiancé. He would play with my hair while we discussed flower arrangements, and his eyes would light up when we talked about our future children. These intimate moments made me push away any doubts I had about his workplace behavior. I convinced myself that his approach was actually mature and professional. Not everyone needs to know about your personal life at work, I reasoned. Some people just prefer to maintain those boundaries, and there was nothing wrong with that. Marcus showed me love in so many other ways that I decided not to make an issue out of something so small. The first real red flag came in November when Marcus told me I could not attend his company's holiday party. "It's a spouses-only event," he explained, "and technically we're not married yet." That struck me as odd. We were engaged, planning a wedding, living together. In every way that mattered, we were committed partners. But when I pressed him about it, he became defensive and quickly changed the subject to asking what I wanted for dinner. The following weekend, we ran into one of Marcus's college buddies, Jake, at our neighborhood coffee shop. I had met Jake once before at a barbecue, and he seemed friendly enough. But when he saw Marcus, his first question was, "So man, are you dating anyone these days?" My girlfriend has this friend who would be perfect for you. I waited for Marcus to mention our engagement to introduce me properly as his fiancée. Instead, he awkwardly gestured toward me and said, "Actually, this is Camille. She's a friend." A friend. After 2 years together and 6 months of engagement, I was introduced as a friend. Jake looked confused, clearly remembering me from the barbecue, where I had been introduced differently. The conversation became stilted and uncomfortable, and we left the coffee shop quickly. During our silent walk home, I felt a knot forming in my stomach. That evening, I decided to address what had happened. "Marcus, why did you introduce me as your friend today?" Jake looked so confused. Marcus immediately became defensive. "Look, I keep my personal life separate from everyone else. It's not just work, it's everyone from my past too. I don't like mixing different parts of my life." We had our first real argument that night. I tried to explain how hurtful it felt to be dismissed as just a friend, while Marcus insisted I was making a big deal out of nothing. Eventually, he apologized and promised he would be more open about our relationship. I believed him because I wanted to believe him. But things only got stranger from there. A few days later, I received a Facebook friend request from someone named Sarah Martinez. Her profile showed she worked in HR at Marcus's company. I accepted the request, thinking maybe she had seen my name somewhere and wanted to connect. What happened next made my blood run cold. Sarah sent me a private message that read, "Hi Camille, I saw your profile through mutual friends and noticed you're single. There's this really sweet guy at our office named Marcus Johnson, and I think you two would be perfect together. He's single too, and such a catch. Would you be interested in me setting you two up?" I stared at that message for a full 10 minutes, reading it over and over again. Sarah thought both Marcus and I were single. She worked in HR at his company, which meant she would have access to employee information. If Marcus had listed me as his emergency contact or beneficiary, she would know about me. The fact that she was trying to set us up meant that Marcus had never mentioned having a fiancée to anyone at his workplace. My hands were shaking as I screenshot the message. This was not about maintaining professional boundaries. This was about Marcus actively presenting himself as single and available. 2 days later, Sarah sent me another message, this time with a group photo attached. The photo showed Marcus and several coworkers at what looked like a happy hour event. Marcus was laughing and leaning close to a pretty brunette woman, his left hand clearly visible and completely bare of any jewelry. The caption read, "Office's favorite single girl, getting all the attention from our bachelor boys." Marcus was not just hiding our engagement, he was participating in workplace social events where he was being grouped with other single people, flirting with female co-workers, and allowing them to believe he was available. I felt sick to my stomach. This was not about professionalism or boundaries. This was about deception, and I had been naive enough to make excuses for it. That night, as Marcus came home talking cheerfully about his day, I watched him with new eyes. When he kissed me hello and asked about dinner plans, I wondered how he could compartmentalize so completely. For 3 days, I said nothing. I needed time to think to decide how to handle this betrayal. Marcus had no idea that his entire cover had been blown by a well-meaning coworker who thought she was playing matchmaker. Those 3 days of silence were the longest of my life. I watched Marcus get ready for work each morning, carefully removing his ring and placing it on the nightstand, and I felt a mixture of anger and disgust that I managed to keep hidden. He had no idea that I knew about his double life, and I was determined to use that to my advantage. I spent my evenings researching Marcus's company culture while he watched television, pretending to browse wedding websites on my laptop. I learned about their quarterly newsletters, their employee recognition programs, and their emphasis on celebrating personal milestones. I was forming a plan, and it was not going to be pretty. During those 3 days, I acted completely normal. I made his favorite meals, asked about his workday, and discussed wedding planning as if nothing had changed. Marcus had no reason to suspect that anything was wrong. He was comfortable in his deception, confident that his two worlds would never collide. On Wednesday evening, I made my decision about exactly how those worlds were going to crash together. I had Marcus's work email directory from a company picnic invitation he had shown me months earlier. I also had access to his LinkedIn connections, which included several people from his HR department. Most importantly, I had professional engagement photos we had taken just a month before, beautiful images that clearly showed both of us wearing our rings and looking happy together. Thursday morning after Marcus left for work, I composed the most professional email of my life. I addressed it to the HR department with copies to Marcus's direct supervisor and department head. The subject line read, "Engagement Announcement, Marcus Johnson." The email was brief and professional. "Good morning, I hope this message finds you well. I am reaching out to share some wonderful personal news about one of your employees, Marcus Johnson. Marcus and I, Camille Williams, recently got engaged and are excited to be planning our spring wedding. I have attached some of our professional engagement photos and would be honored if you would consider including our announcement in your next company newsletter. Marcus has spoken so fondly of his colleagues and the supportive work environment at your company. We look forward to celebrating this milestone with his work family. Best regards, Camille Williams." I attached 3 of our best engagement photos, including one where both of our rings were prominently displayed, and hit send at exactly 9:30 a.m. Then I waited. Marcus usually called me around lunchtime to check in, but that Thursday, my phone rang at 11:15 a.m. I let it go to voicemail. He called again at 11:30, then again at noon. I did not answer any of them. The voicemails started casual enough. "Hey babe, just wanted to hear your voice." Then they became more urgent. "Camille, can you call me back, please? Something happened at work." By the third message, he sounded panicked. "Please pick up. I really need to talk to you." I went about my day, normally running errands and meeting my sister for lunch. She noticed I seemed distracted, but I told her I would explain everything later. Around 4 p.m., I finally listened to his messages. There were 7 of them, each one more desperate than the last. The final message left at 3:45 was Marcus at his most vulnerable. "Camille, please call me back. Everyone at work is congratulating me on our engagement and asking about wedding plans. I do not know how this happened, but we need to talk before I come home tonight. Please." I smiled as I deleted that message. He knew exactly how it had happened, even if he could not prove it. When Marcus came home that evening, he was a mixture of angry and panicked. "How could you do that to me? Do you have any idea how embarrassing this was?" I was sitting calmly on our couch reading a magazine. "Embarrassing, I thought you would be proud to let your coworkers know about our engagement. You know that's not how I handle my personal life at work." "You mean you do not handle your personal life at work? There's a difference, Marcus." He stared at me, and I could see the moment he realized I knew more than I was letting on. "What exactly do you know?" I stood up and walked to our bedroom, returning with printouts of Sarah's messages and the group photo. I laid them out on our coffee table like evidence in a trial. "I know that your coworker Sarah thinks both of us are single and available. I know that you attend happy hours where you are grouped with other single people. I know that you have been lying to me for months about why you do not wear your ring." Marcus's face went pale as he looked at the evidence. He tried to explain to justify his behavior, but every excuse sounded weaker than the last. "I never cheated on you," he insisted. "No, but you kept the door open to cheat. You enjoyed the attention from women who thought you were available." "It was not like that. I just liked keeping my options open, just in case things did not work out between us." Just in case things did not work out. There it was, the truth finally spoken out loud. Marcus had been engaged to me, while simultaneously maintaining the option to pursue other relationships if something better came along. I walked back to our bedroom and returned with his engagement ring, which I had taken from the nightstand that morning. I placed it gently on the coffee table next to the printed messages. "If you are ashamed to wear this ring, then you should not have it at all. Camille, please, let's talk about this rationally." "I am being perfectly rational. You have 1 week to find somewhere else to live." The power I felt in that moment was unlike anything I had ever experienced. For months I had been making excuses for Marcus's behavior, convincing myself that his actions were reasonable. Now I was taking control of the situation, and refusing to accept less than I deserved. The week that followed was a masterpiece of desperation on Marcus's part. My phone rang constantly with calls I refused to answer. The voicemails started apologetic and quickly became frantic. "Please help me fix this with my coworkers. Everyone thinks I am some kind of liar now. You are humiliating me at work. People are asking questions I cannot answer." My boss called me into his office to discuss my integrity issues. "This is affecting my career." I saved every message partly for my own protection, and partly because I found his panic oddly satisfying. Marcus had spent months carefully crafting a false image of himself, and now he was facing the consequences of that deception. My support system rallied around me in ways that surprised me. My younger sister Emma was furious when I told her the whole story. "You dodged a bullet," she said. "Can you imagine finding this out after you were married?" My best friend Jenna was equally supportive. "You deserve someone who is proud to claim you, not someone who treats you like a dirty secret." Even my mother, who had initially been disappointed about the broken engagement, understood completely once I explained what had happened. "A real man does not hide the woman he loves," she said firmly. The most interesting reactions came from Marcus's own circle. Jake, the college friend who had witnessed the awkward coffee shop introduction, reached out to me directly. "I had a feeling something was off that day," he admitted. "I remember you from that barbecue as his girlfriend, so when he introduced you as a friend, it seemed weird." Meanwhile, Marcus was dealing with the professional fallout of his deception. Sarah, the HR coordinator who had tried to set us up, was reportedly mortified when she realized what had happened. According to mutual connections, she felt manipulated and used by Marcus's dishonesty. Other female coworkers who had been friendly with Marcus, thinking he was single and available, began to distance themselves once they learned he had been engaged the entire time. His reputation in the office was seriously damaged, not just romantically, but professionally. Colleagues began to question his honesty and integrity in other areas. Marcus's attempts to contact me became increasingly desperate. He showed up at my workplace twice, forcing me to have security escort him out. He sent flowers with notes, begging me to please help him fix this mess. He even reached out to my sister, asking her to intervene on his behalf. 3 weeks after I had broken our engagement, Marcus sent a final lengthy text message. "I know I messed up badly, and I know you probably hate me right now, but I am begging you to help me salvage my reputation at work. People think I am a compulsive liar, and it is affecting everything. I will do anything to make this right with you, if you will just help me explain to my coworkers that this was a misunderstanding." I read that message 3 times, amazed by his continued selfishness. Even in his apology, he was focused on how the situation affected him, not on the pain he had caused me or the trust he had broken. I never responded to that message. 6 months later, my life has transformed in ways I could never have imagined. I threw myself into my work and received a promotion to senior marketing coordinator. I started therapy to understand why I had ignored so many red flags and learned to trust my instincts again. Most importantly, I met someone new. David is a graphic designer who works with our agency occasionally, and he could not be more different from Marcus. When he introduced me to his friends, after we had been dating for just 3 weeks, he said, "This is Camille, the amazing woman I have been telling you about." He wears the simple silver ring I gave him for his birthday proudly, and mentions our relationship naturally in professional settings. Marcus, according to mutual friends, is still single. He apparently learned his lesson about workplace deception, but the damage to his reputation never fully healed. Several people told me that female coworkers still view him with suspicion, and his dishonesty has become something of an office legend. I do not take pleasure in his continued struggles, but I do feel validated that my decision was correct. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is refuse to accept less than you deserve. The experience taught me that love without respect is not really love at all. A partner who truly values you does not hide you from any part of their life. They do not keep backup options or present themselves as available to others. They certainly do not make you feel crazy for questioning behavior that your instincts tell you is wrong. I learned to distinguish between healthy privacy and harmful secrecy. There is nothing wrong with maintaining some boundaries between work and personal life, but those boundaries should never involve deception or dishonesty about your relationship status. Most importantly, I learned that trust is not something you should have to convince yourself to feel. When someone shows you who they are through their actions, believe them the first time. Looking back, I realized that Marcus's behavior was never about professionalism or workplace boundaries. It was about wanting to have his cake and eat it too. He wanted the security and comfort of our relationship at home while maintaining the excitement and possibilities that came with being perceived as single elsewhere. I am grateful every day that I discovered his deception before we were married, before we had children, before I had wasted even more years with someone who saw me as an option rather than a priority. The temporary pain of a broken engagement was nothing compared to the lifetime of heartache I avoided. Now, when I see couples where one partner seems hesitant to claim the other publicly, I want to shake them and tell them to pay attention to those red flags. Your person should be excited to tell the world about you, not looking for excuses to hide your relationship. What about you? Have you ever been in a relationship where your partner seemed reluctant to acknowledge you publicly? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments below, because I would love to hear your stories. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Do not forget to subscribe for more real-life stories about love betrayal and finding the strength to choose yourself. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, you are worth celebrating, not hiding. Here is to all of us who learned to demand better and found the courage to walk away when someone could not give it to us.